Hey trainers, it's Alakaham here with some more Pokemon video magic, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing a Poliwrath that I have just recently built for the Ultra League. And I've had the idea to do this for a long time, but just hadn't committed the Stardust to it, and I was fortunate to be able to do a lucky trade with Too Cool 101. So thanks to Too Cool for doing the lucky trade with me. And yeah, now I get to bring the Wrath to the Ultra League. So we'll see how wrathful this team gets as we go along. If you enjoy the content of the video, I would really appreciate if you would give it a like. And if you would also like to subscribe and haven't done so already, I'd love to hear from you in the comments and have you be a part of the community. And with that, we are going to go ahead and dive into these battles. This is a pretty nice start. I really like having Poliwrath matched up against Talonflame. It is a little bit tricky on the lead because Talonflame does have access to Brave Bird, which would be super effective against Poliwrath. But here they let the Scald go, and much to my surprise, Scald did not actually take out the Talonflame there. I hate seeing Talonflame in the Ultra League so much, and I know part of that is jealousy because I don't have one, but I just hate it. So they were trying to get to 2 moves before they threw, and somehow that trainer knew they were going to survive even after an Ice Punch, so that's great counting on the part of that trainer, but they got stuck in an animation or a lag or something, and all it took was one more Mudshot to take out that Talonflame, so that was unfortunate for them. Okay, this is a terrible lead, so we immediately safe swapped into our Muck, and what do you know, they don't actually have a good response for Alolan Muck, they just bring in their own. So this means I can probably take Switch as long as I'm willing to use the same number of shields that they do because I have an energy advantage here. I got some farm before they actually switched into their own Muck. So that's pretty nice. And Sludge Wave does just a little bit more raw damage, so I decided that I would be using Sludge Wave as the primary play here. They're just matching me. But here I'm gonna try and be a little bit sneaky. I built all the way up to Sludge Wave and then I baited with a Dark Pulse and they decided to shield. So that means I'm going to get to the next move pretty quickly. I will have to shield once here, but that's fine because we will have the same shield situation, but I'll be able to take Switch. And if they bring that Cresselia back in, of course, we've got a Scissor in the back, which is nice. Oh, okay, so they have Giratina. Our whole team does fairly well against Giratina, so I'm going to go ahead and bring in the Poliwrath because Poliwrath does not want to see Cresselia, and I'm just going to start spamming these Ice Punches, and I'm not going to shield anything. The Giratina can take out Poliwrath, no big deal, and we should be able to close this game with Scissor because both of their remaining Pokemon take super effective damage from Dark-type moves like Night Slash, so Scissor should be in pretty good shape there, and Scissor will be able to resist Dragon Claws and Moonblast and Grass Knot from the Cresselia, so we're looking pretty good. I was fairly happy with how things were going here. They did decide to let the Giratina go, and we actually make it to a Scald before the Poliwrath goes down, and we get the attack drop, which is even better. I don't think we really even needed the attack drop, but that's extra nice. So I definitely don't need to shield the first move. Might be able to get away with unshielding 2 or 3 moves. And they, that's unfortunate for them. They go for the Grass Knot, and Grass Knot does nothing. It's an attack debuffed Grass Knot. It was going to be a resisted move anyway, so they decided to go ahead and do the top left thing. It was a great effort. I had some pretty hard counters to their team, so good game to the other trainer. And now we are going to go ahead and dive into match number 3. At least I think, if the game wants to find an opponent for me, that could be good. Well, while the game is working on that, I will go ahead and mention that there are lots of great charge moves that one can run on Poliwrath, and I decided to go for Scald, which is one of the things that I hope makes this video kind of interesting and unique, is that Scald is a relatively new move, and I haven't seen too many videos on that yet. I like Scald because it has similar coverage as the fighting type moves, and it also gets stab, but it has the added benefit of being able to potentially get an attack drop. And I like Ice Punch as the other move to deal with, you know, fairies and dragons and stuff that would otherwise be kind of tough to deal with. So anyway, Dynamic Punch also works pretty well too. Dynamic Punch would probably be better in this situation, but Scald is still a fairly decent answer to this Snorlax. So I'm going to go ahead and go again, and they shield. So here I'm thinking I should probably shield because they're just trying to win switch here, and I should have known better than that because they could have survived another Scald, and in fact they do right there. So what should have been going through my head is this person is just trying to draw this initial matchup out and do a lot of damage to Poliwrath. They probably don't want to see Poliwrath in the back. But instead of using my head there, I was too busy celebrating that I got to that Ice Punch, and we beat the Snorlax, but as you're going to see in a minute, beating the Snorlax essentially means that we lost the game, right? So we have an okay answer to Charizard with Alolan Muck, except for they have an energy advantage. So this matchup is really going to depend on use of shields and everything. I was getting really nervous about a potential Blast Burn, and I used my shield there, and I really should not have. I got baited, and I thought, okay, we can maybe survive a Blast Burn from this range and still get the Dark Pulse through. No, not at all. We we ended up taking an Overheat, which is interesting because I've seen several Charizards with Overheat this season, and I'm not sure why people have reverted to that. Blast Burn does comparable damage, and it's a little bit easier to reach Blast Burn. But if you don't have an Elite TM for your Charizard, then I guess Overheat makes sense. So this game really went south after the beginning. I should have immediately swapped into Muck to see what they were going to bring out because I really needed Poliwrath for those back 2 Pokemon. And I had every clue that I should have been saving Poliwrath and just did not pay attention. So yeah, you live and you learn, and good job to that opponent. They did a great job making sure that Poliwrath was not going to be a threat to them later in the game. So here my opponent starts with a Lapras, and they were probably anticipating that I would have Dynamic Punch, which is why they switched out here. But actually this matchup against Alolan Muck is really, really good. I am in a fantastic position here against Alolan Muck. Even a Sludge Wave is not going to do all that much. As you can see, I can get away with things like over farming here. So they ended up putting us in a pretty good position. And they still don't bring back the Lapras. So I'm going to reveal here that I don't actually have Dynamic Punch. But that's okay, because we'll do super effective damage to the Venusaur. So, by the way, if you are playing with Poliwrath and you don't have Dynamic Punch, you probably want to go ahead and build all the way up into the Scald so that it seems like you could have Dynamic Punch and try to fake your opponent out to see if you can get a shield. That was going to be my strategy with the Lapras, but fortunately they switched out. So the opponent goes for Ice Beam there. I'm not going to be shielding things because I am confident that our Scissor can close things out here. I wanted them to have a question mark in their head about, oh, well, I guess I will shield there. Oh, I still had 2 shields, that's why. Okay. Yeah, want a shield there and go for the Sludge Wave, but I am going to be counting on Scissor to kind of close everything out here. We did get a shield from them, and this time I'm going to go straight for Dark Pulse, and because I get to it faster and could outpace. They catch, but that's absolutely fine, because that means we can Bullet Punch down with Scissor, and then we have lots of energy for this Lapras. So I figure Surf isn't going to KO, Ice Beam isn't going to KO, so I'm going to save that shield for whatever the next move is and go right for this Iron Head. And the opponent figures it's a Night Slash and lets it go, but Iron Head hits a lot harder than Night Slash. It gets stabbed, it does more raw damage, so we are able to take out the Lapras, and each player had a shield left, so that's always interesting when everybody still has a shield remaining. You always look back on it and think, could I have used that shield somewhere and had an easier time of this? All right, into the next battle, and we have Poliwrath versus Muck. This time there's no swap involved. We just end up, lucking into the situation. So this is really good. They didn't build up to the Sludge Wave, so with this particular opponent, I knew that they were going for Dark Pulse, which would be resisted, and we are going to be pumping out these Scald attacks as quick as we can. They swap into their Snorlax, so we are going to go ahead and throw Scald because we were pretty close to having it already, and we could do some damage there to make it just a little bit easier for our safe swap Alolan Muck to finish off the Snorlax. So they get to a move here, and it was Earthquake, which not that many people run on their Snorlax. I was definitely expecting like a couple of body slams, but also I didn't know that Alolan Muck could survive an Earthquake, so good for Muck. So we took shield advantage, but we lost switch advantage here. And I came in with the Scissor and decided to shield because they did have a lot of time to build energy again. Correctly shielded an Earthquake. I came in with Scissor because it was going to be easier to Bullet Punch down than it would have been to Mudshot down with the Poliwrath. So they come back in with Alolan Muck. Also, I knew that Scissor has a pretty decent matchup with Alolan Muck, so if they came back in with it, that wouldn't be too bad. Again, we take them by surprise with Iron Head, and with the Machamp, I'm going to go ahead and build up to Iron Head as well. And we get the last shield, that's good, and I do not want them to have extra farm, so I make an aggressive swap into the Poliwrath, and correctly shield a Rock Slide, and we do get to the Scald. So this game is going to close with this team's wrath being fully unleashed on that Machamp, and we are able to take the win. So the long story short here is that I was not wrong in wanting to build a Poliwrath for the Ultra League. If you have an opportunity to do that, I highly recommend it. Poliwrath has been so much fun, has definitely helped to increase my elo, which I needed after yesterday because I was messing around with some teams and I thought, oh, this will be fine, and ended up losing more battles than I thought I would with the experimental team. So Poliwrath has definitely helped to bring the elo back up. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, again, I would really love if you could leave a like for me on the video, and I hope that you'll come back to watch some more in the future. Until next time, trainers.